App Planning for Success. Brought to you by Software Accelerator Playbook. On Instagram at S.A.Playbook. Today on the podcast, we are talking about creative ways to fund your app and how to think through that if you're trying to navigate that scenario. So there's lots of different ways that you might envision, getting your app made. The first thought is, okay, bootstrap it, pull money out of your own pocket, and certainly that happens very often. But there are steps as you're making your app that can help you make it, that can also generate money for you. And so I want to kind of throw these creative ideas at you to see if maybe, this would be able to help you find money and also push your app projects forward at the same time. So let's say that your app or your software is doing a specific process. It's trying to, process data a certain way. It's trying to, to get some sort of outcome. And, maybe you have a picture of what this is, but maybe you don't have the full idea, yourself. Maybe it's a process that you've done before, and you just want to kind of streamline it and automate it. Maybe it's a process that something you're making up that something new that you want this thing to do. Whatever the process is that you want your app to do, if you can find something that allows you to get in the ring and test that whatever value you're bringing in the app is going to be valuable if it's finished into an app, and at the same time you can charge for that. So for an example, if you're trying to process data, let's say for your app, you're trying to process data a specific way, you're trying to show data, you can potentially find a job, find a freelance opportunity looking for people who need that exact processing. And then, without having the app made, you can just do manual processes or use spreadsheets or use whatever it is, whatever kind of processing you need. And by doing that, by going through a process, actually helping somebody, not by yourself, this is the process to get you out of the cocoon of just working with yourself in your own mind with your own vision. If you're not with yourself anymore and now you're serving somebody, you're helping bring value to somebody, then all of a sudden a lot of things switch in your favor. And what I mean by that is, as you get out of your own head and you're helping somebody, if for some reason something's wrong with your process, or you're thinking about delivering value a certain way, if you're working with somebody and they don't see that same value, you'll know right away. You won't have dropped, lots of money and time into building this thing that nobody wants. You're actually building something that somebody wants, and if you don't build it until they pay for it, then you can be assured that what you're actually doing is beneficial. And so let's say that you have maybe 10 main components to your app that you want. You've got this vision, you want 10 main components, you've got this whole kind of grand vision. You don't know which of those 10 components are necessarily going to be the most wonderful in terms of, the person who's going to be using your app. You may guess what they may like. You may, have a hunch or a solid hunch, based on if you've been serving this customer before. But until they actually give you money for that service, you don't really know whether it's valuable to them or not. And so a lot of the difficulty of what happens with app planning sometimes and app development is that people build in a vacuum. They build something that they think will bring value, and they spend a ton of money and time on something that they think will bring value, and then as soon as it's time to unveil it to the world and actually start delivering that value, they find out, oh shoot, people don't actually want this, or maybe they want some sort of modified version of this, or maybe, out of all 10 modules, they're really only using one module heavily and the rest get discarded, or whatever it is. That as soon as you start running real people through it, now you're outside of your own mind. You're outside of your own boundaries in terms of what you consider to be important, what your vision is for the value you're trying to deliver, the exact problem that you're trying to solve, I would assume that you have, a decent, finger on the pulse of what's going on there because you have the vision to build the app, but you just don't know until you get people to use it. So the faster you can get people to use the app, the better. But even before that, even before you've started building your app, if there's a way for you to provide some sort of service or some sort of, manual process that is basically what the app would do, or at least along the same lines of what the app would do, or at least selling to the type of people that you want to reach for the app, then you put yourself 10 steps ahead. Because now, by figuring out now whether people are really interested in putting money down for this thing, by figuring out now how to contact those people, how to get in touch with those people, and tell them that you're offering this thing, and do they want it, and how much are they willing to pay, and all that work that is really not necessarily the fun work, but really gives you a gigantic insight into whether you're heading the right direction or not. That doesn't have to just be work that you do that's just research work, and then you just call people and you just ask questions and then you're done. You can actually figure out ways to do mini jobs or mini tasks for people along the lines of what the value of the app would be, providing some sort of similar output of what the app would be, but just manually. And now, of course, this doesn't work with all cases, right? There's a lot of things that you might not be able to strategize that in all cases. But if you think of something like Uber, certainly at the very beginning, there could have been some sort of simple app that was just a communication platform where the first person says, I'm here, I need to go here. And then the person working for Uber would get a message saying, okay, they need to go there. Then they would find a car and that was, available, and then they would drive the person there. Or they would find a driver that's already on the road and contact them, or whatever else it is. Did they need all the GPS location systems and all the payment systems and everything all baked into the app from day one? Not necessarily. Now you can build apps like that. You can just go for it. You can just plan the whole thing and you can just go for it. And in some cases that does make sense. If you're building version 2 of an app and you've already got a client base, you've already got a customer base, people are already interested, you're delivering the proper value, then in that case it does make sense to just, build in a vacuum, what's going on, build it and then deploy it. But if you're doing something new, then it serves you to take some extra time to get in conversations with people, to get out of your own head and start delivering value to people. Start at least explaining the value proposition to people. Hey, this is what I'm doing. This is how I can help you. You don't have to even tell them that you're building an app. Hey, I'd like to just provide you this thing. Do you want this thing? Would you pay for this thing? And then if there's any way that you can have them pay for some sort of service, even if it's a few bucks, 5, 10, 20, 30, whatever it is, some amount of money that somebody would give you for this thing, then all of a sudden okay, this is proof that I'm headed in the right direction. And the value that you're going to get out of this is not only seeing, whether people like it or not, it's what you see that they're most drawn to. If you see that they're drawn, out of 10 different features or 10 different things you're trying to do, if you see that they're drawn to, 1 or 2 of those things, then you go, okay, I got to pay attention to this. This has to be my new bullseye. Maybe you thought your bullseye was somewhere else. But then by seeing them, by hearing them, by talking to them, by actually being in community with them and talking to them, chatting with them, then you're able to get that awesome feeling about what actually is moving the ball forward for your potential customer. And that is the gold information. That is the information that should drive your project forward. That if you're building in a vacuum and you're only looking at yourself in terms of just thinking for yourself about what you want, that That's good to start, but that's not good to build the entire thing and drop, tens of thousands of dollars on. You want to make sure that you're headed the right direction. And also, as you're, trying to figure out creative ways to pay for your app, that you can sell some sort of service connected with your app potentially that will then help you fund the app. So it's almost like you're doing both at the same time. You're doing the research, you're talking to the people, but you're also getting paid to do that work. So then you're buying yourself more time, you're buying yourself more resources, you're buying yourself more fuel by taking that tack. As opposed to just taking money out of your pocket, keeping your head down, staying in a vacuum, not talking to anybody, and then just dropping your money on your project. If you instead look for money that's available for the exact people that want to solve the problem that you're going to solve the problem for, and you can find some way to sell that as a service or a consulting fee or an analysis fee or whatever else it is, then at least you're talking to the right person. At least you're seeing whether they actually value it enough to pay for it. And then you're setting yourself up with the proper direction when it comes to what do I actually put in this app. Hope that's helpful. I'll see you tomorrow.